And so we begin our journey through volume and surface area. A cube is probably one of the easier ones, but let's go over a couple things here. A prism is a three-dimensional shape that sides, the vertical sides, the up and down sides, the lateral sides they call them, are rectangles for us. We do right prisms. You can have oblique prisms in which the sides are parallelograms, but we're not going to do that. For us, the base can be a variety of things. It can be a square like in a cube, but it could be a rectangle, it could be a triangle, it could be a pentagon or a hexagon. We'll have examples of that later. In general, though, the surface area, there's actually a formula for this. I'm not going to encourage that because you're going to forget these formulas. Just keep it as simple as we can. Sometimes we have to use formulas. This is new formulas. In this case, we don't need to. What you're going to do here is you're just going to find the area of one face. And since it's a cube, there's 6 of them, you're going to multiply by 6. So we would say that the total area of every face on this shape is, since they're all the same, it's 6 times, and the area of them, we'll use the base here across the bottom, is 23 by 23. So the area of one of them is 23 times 23. So this ends up being 6 times the area of one of the faces. 23 times 23 is 529. And 529 times 6 is 3,174. Now this is area, the area of all the outside. That's what surface area is, and area is measured in squares. You can write that a couple different ways. You can say inches squared, that's our shortcut, or you could say square inches, same thing. The volume of a prism, it's the area of the base. It becomes very important because the base can be a triangle, it can be a hexagon, it can be a rectangle, it can be a square. And the base is a shape that exists throughout the object. Do you see how this square at the bottom also occurs at the top? Up here. So we know that that square can be a base. So in this case, it's the area of the base times the height. And the area of the base was 23 times 23. And the height is the distance between the bases. Right here. It's also 23. So area of the base times the height. Now, you may have learned some of this before, and very commonly you hear it's length times width times height, but that doesn't work for all prisms. You need to think of it as the area of the base times the height. Yeah, length times width times height works for any rectangular prism, and a cube is a rectangular prism. But area of the base times the height is what we use for a majority of what we do. So in this case, it's actually just 23 to the third power, 23 times 23 times 23, and that ends up being a big number, 12,167. And volume is measured in cubes, little tiny boxes, and each box here would be 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. So we would say inches cubed, or sometimes you heard it here, people say cubic inches.